Hello crafters, and welcome again to the Hobby Maker tutorial YouTube channel here. I'm James Hembrow, and I'm just going to share with you a couple of techniques using some dye-based ink pads. And I thought we'd start off with having a look at a really special watercolour technique that you can create using your very own dye ink pads and stamps right this very second. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in this really nice poppy stamp that I've got here just to play with, and also some white cardstock. So again, I've got my stamping platform, and I'm just going to attach the cardstock down here onto the sticky background so it holds in place. Take my stamp, line it up roughly where I want it on my project, and then pick that up with my stamping platform. So I've got my stamp in the right place, ready to go. Now what I'm going to do here is a little bit different, because rather than turn around and apply ink all over the stamped image like we've done every other time up until now, I'm actually going to colour the stamp in. And this is the, if you like, the clever bit. It's a really, really fun technique, and it works so well with so many different stamps. And I'm just going to pick out a few of these areas. We'll just take a green and a red, because it's a nice poppy field, and we can just go for these two colours, and I'm just going to use a water brush just to start to create a little bit of a paint. So again, another technique you can use your dye-based inks for, which we've looked at before, which is using them as a watercolour. But what I'm actually doing here is a totally different technique that we haven't looked at yet, and again there's so many techniques you can use, more than I could possibly show you in this very, very short video, but it's trying to hit on some really simple, effective ones. And I think this is a really, really fun technique to work with, because again, it's showing you can use your ink pad and your stamp in a totally different way. So what I've got here is literally a dye-based ink that I am applying, rather than stamping, I'm applying it by water brush. And this water brush is literally just a brush with the basil filled with water in the barrel, and it just works its way up to the tip if you've not seen them before. And every time you touch down onto the surface like that, or even give it a little light squeeze if you need to, a bit of water comes out, mixes in with the dye ink pad, which we know is water-based, because we've learnt that, and then it builds up a really nice watercolour. Now you could use this, as I've shown you in a couple of other videos, to actually colour in your stamps. But what I'm doing here is actually how to colour your red rubber or grey rubber, or even clear. This would work with clear as well, stamps. How you can actually colour up your stamped images. Now I'm just going to go through all of this, because I don't know about you, but I find colouring in so very therapeutic to do and watch. So I hope you're enjoying this. But I'm just going to pick out a couple of little details here with the red. And you don't have to worry about going over the edges of your stamp. I know I've been quite clean, but I could actually be quite crude with it and quite quick, because I think we've picked out all the areas. Obviously it's only those raised areas that are going to actually stamp out. Right, I think we've covered all the red areas. Let's just go in and pick out some of this foliage really quickly, like so. And again, I'm just going to, for example, show you how quick and kind of crude and rough I can actually be with this. I'm not having to really, I'm always just brushing it over the surface now quite rapidly, just to colour in all these areas. And to be honest with you, the more it's kind of a little bit patchy, the better, because that's kind of the effect we want to go for here. We want to go for, ultimately, a watercolour effect. We want this to look like you've possibly sat there and spent ages watercolouring a poppy field. But it's just a different way of creating an effect using that same stamp that we've used before. And I'll show you a couple examples in a minute, just to remind you of how it looks when it's crisply stamped. And it comes out lovely, but we want this to look totally different using our same tools that we've already invested in, the same stamp, same ink, in different ways. Right, okay, so I think we've probably got enough colour on there just to make this work. And I probably, because it's quite warm in the studio, I'm just going to very quickly go over with a little bit of colour and water over the top of the red areas that we did first, just to kind of make sure that they are still moist and they've got the ink and they haven't dried too much, just like that. And then we're good to go there. So I'd leave that again, use that again. I'm going to take some tap water and just give this whole stamp just a very light spritz like that. And that's just going to make sure that all of that ink is nice and wet on that area. Then we're going to go in and we're going to stamp this out using our stamping platform. And I'm going to do a first generation stamp. So this is something we've not spoken about yet, but doing different generations. So look at that, that's our first generation. You see that technique that we've got? I'm going to pop that to one side to dry. It's totally different to anything else we've done. I'm going to pop that one there. I'm going to come back in with another piece of cardstock, put it roughly in the same area, and this is going to be our second generation stamp. What I mean is a second stamped image I've got from the same inked surface. I haven't had to go back in and apply more colour. Actually, I'm just going to press down a little bit more. Again, another great option with the stamping platform to be able to do that. There we go, that's my second generation stamped image. It's a little bit fainter, but actually it almost looks more watercolour, and this is on stark white cardstock. So if I did this on maybe craft card, or if I did it on some darker card, or I finished the project off, which I'll show you in a minute with some actual finished pieces, you can see how different it looks. Now there's plenty of ink on there. If I give that a little spritz of water, I could go back in there, I reckon, let's give it a go. I reckon I could go in there for a third generation stamp, and sometimes your third generation of stamping something with this technique could even be the best. And it could actually be the one you end up using. You may not think it when you stamp it, but I've done this many a times. I've stamped something, so never throw anything away, because trust me, you'll probably find that you can use it. There we go, and exactly as I said, that to me, probably looks the most kind of realistic watercolour effect. So let me just show you those three stamped images that we've got there. So we've got first generation, second generation, and the third generation, which personally I kind of like the most. It looks the most blotched and the most watercoloured. And I could turn around and build that up and make it something really quite special, either a piece of work of framed artwork or anything like that, or even a greetings card. And I've just gone in there, created a bit of that background, and I actually think that was possibly my third generation stamp that I'd done there. And I'd done a couple of previous stamped ones here, again, just to show you first generation, second generation, and again third generation, and all three of those are completely different to all three of those that we've just done together there in front of us. And I actually, as that dries, I really like that one. So you can see maybe even a fourth generation would look even better. I don't know. So have a play, but that's a really nice, quick, simple watercolour technique, I like to call it, that allows you to use your stamps in a slightly different way. It's actually really, really fun to do. And it allows you to get lots of stamped images from the same technique. Well, there you go. Really hope you've enjoyed that. I know it's lots to take in, but it's just to spark some creativity, give you some really different ideas, just how you can use the stamps and ink pads, maybe that you've already got, but how you can use those in different ways, exactly what they do, and just to give you some different techniques. But go out there, get creative, have a go, and above all, make sure you keep on crafting, and obviously make sure you hit the like and subscribe below, hit that bell, and then we will keep you notified next time there's a brand new video dropping.